If you ask any Muslim, what is the meaning of jihad? He will say that there are two types of jihad. One is called jihad-e-asghar, which is a smaller jihad. And the other is bigger jihad, which they call jihad-e-akbar. And for that they said that this is a fight with your nafs, your ego. But this is a lie. Only in one hadith, which is not regarded as authentic, it is written that Muhammad was going for some war, and then he realized that they were going to fight with Christian kafirs, but they didn't turn out. So they turned back and they said that now we will go for bigger jihad. So they say that there are two types of jihad. It is mentioned in one of the hadith. And this was quoted by founder of the Ahmadiyya sect, Ghulam Muhammad, Qadiani sect, I think, Ghulam Muhammad Qadiani, or Ahmadiyya sect, maybe they are both same. But this is not authentic hadith. So there is only one jihad, destroying the kafirs. And it is said that as long as the rain gods or Allah send you the rainwater comes down, you have to go on in this jihad. It can never stop. Go on killing. This is the topmost religion, the religion of peace. Cutting people into pieces. This is the real meaning of peace. We have misunderstood. They mean cut people into pieces. And I think Mahatma Gandhi was very much impressed by Islam and also by Christianity. He was impressed by Islam because it is very promiscuous. He can justify his so-called experiments of brahmacharya, celibacy, which he used to indulge in. You know or not that Mahatma Gandhi used to have this experiment? I have told you before also. So, what he used to do? It is not that he will be sleeping with one woman. There were many. Some of them he will take bath with them naked and then sleep with them. And he used to say that I am testing whether I have reached to a state of celibacy or not. And among those with whom he experimented, there was one who was his granddaughter, not his own granddaughter, but he almost bought her from her father because maybe they were poor people. Her name was Manu. So, and then there were other women. Many of them, most of them were wives of his disciples. And he had told them, in his ashram, this was the rule, that you have to be celibate. You cannot drink tea, you have to be celibate. So all of them were not allowed to sleep even with their wife. But Mahatma Gandhi was the privileged one. Maybe he was not doing sex, but he will become excited and there was erection and then nightfall and ejaculation. All those things used to happen. And maybe sometime when it became out of control, he may have been indulging in sex also. But if you are doing something and if you are a genuine person and you are just doing some experiment, you have to ask the other person also whether that person is ready or not. And if the person is very underage, the person is not mature enough for these things that they can decide, then what right you have to sleep with them? And if you are doing this thing, you should have allowed your disciples also, that they can also experiment. If this is such a novel act, then why you are preventing them? And he was a hypocrite number one. It looks to me that he was kind of an agent imposed by Britishers, Muslims and Christians. Many times he decided in his life to become Christian. And his grandfather had converted to Islam. Then his father again came back to Hinduism. And Gandhi many times wanted to convert to either Christianity or Islam or Jainism. But maybe he thought it is politically more practical to remain a Hindu, because majority of the people in India is Hindus. So if he becomes either Christian or Muslim or a Jaina, then you cannot pull the crowd behind you. So why I say that he looks to be a kind of a stooge of British, an agent of these people. Because whatever he was doing was benefiting them, and it is still benefiting others, not Indians, especially not Hindus. It looks to me that it was a strategy of the British, that they realized that there are people who are going to rebel, and India is such a big country. If people start doing a non-violent movement, then India is such a big country and their number was so small, the Britishers. What they were doing is that most of their soldiers were all Indians. If Indians were not in their army, then they could never have won. But that was their method, their technique, that they will divide and rule. And they will allow these people who were in their police or in their army, that you can exploit people as much as you can. You can extort as much money from them. You can grab their land. You can grab their women. So these people who are themselves of very low consciousness and who understand only the language of power and exploiting others, so they thought this is good to be with the Britishers. So they became part of their loot. They're part of their robbery. So the Britishers understood that it is very easy to divide Indians. Then for that reason maybe they imposed Gandhi. First he was in South Africa. He went there to fight for one Muslim, his case. And I don't think that man was also a moral man. And he was being paid by him. So maybe everything was settled there. He did some non-violent movement in South Africa also. Then he came to India. So he was perhaps sent to India so that he can be as a buffer. He can be used as a buffer, as a shock absorber. That otherwise, if the whole India was turning violent, if they were believing in the violent method to gain freedom, then Britishers could not last even for few days in India. Vivekananda used to say that if all Indians decide to pee at the same time, the whole Britain will drown. Or even if all of the Indians throw stones, they cannot survive because their number is so big. So the Britisher realized that if the Indian become violent, then they cannot rule this country. So they thought that this country is very much influenced by a saint or Mahatma. So if someone acts like a Mahatma, like a saint, then the whole country will follow him. And if he says that violent method is not the right method is asahyog, non-cooperation, non-violence. But this is the most absurd thing which Gandhi introduced. If you want to remain non-violent, non-violence has to happen inside you. But you cannot impose on other people that you turn non-violent. They are boiling within them. The violence is all within them. And you have forced them to be non-violent. That's why I think Indians have become so hypocritical, and they have so much violence is boiling within them, because saints have been always telling, don't be angry, don't be jealous, don't be sexual. But everything is boiling within them. On the outside they are acting as if nothing is there. So they are very schizophrenic. Their inside reality is something else. And they have learned so many wrong things Gandhi has given to Indians. He was doing all these whenever he would not agree with the Britisher, then he will start doing his non-violent, non-cooperative movement. Then he will choose the method of strike, so that we will not work and we will just not working is a protest. So even now the Indians are doing the same thing. Whenever you want your demand to be fulfilled, just wait. Whenever you want your demand to be fulfilled, then you have a strike. You stop working. And you try to create obstructions so that nothing works. You have stopped communications, you have stopped people going on train and everything. You have bring the country to stand still. But in this way you are harming the country. It may have been of some help at that time, but now you are still doing the same thing. What they do in Japan is totally different. When they have to protest about something, they will work even more. Only they will have a black band on their hand and they will work more in protest. Maybe they will work, if it is 8 hours schedule, then they will work 14 hours, 16 hours. So, and then what he did was that people wanted, because they were being killed, they were humiliated, they were treated worse than dogs and animals. And they wanted to take revenge from the Britishers. But Gandhi was suppressing them and repressing them. So what happened is that they were not fighting at that time. But later on, when India became free and there was partition, so Hindu and Muslim started killing each other in such a violent and such a cruel way. There was so much murder of each other, so much rapes, women's breasts were cut, they were raped everywhere. And train will come from Pakistan full of dead bodies, and from India also. Only Gandhi is responsible for this. And what kind of man he was. If you have once agreed that the Muslim demanded that they want a separate country, then why the Muslims should remain in India also? All the Muslims should have gone to Pakistan and all the Hindus should have been brought to India. But Gandhi said no. And those who want to stay there, they should remain there. And those Muslims who want to stay in India, they can stay here. But what happened because of that? In India, the Muslims are this minority, so-called minority, is having more facilities than the majority. But in Pakistan, they were treated worse than animals. They were butchered, they were killed, they were murdered, they were converted. And it goes on and on. In Bangladesh, in Pakistan, Hindus were about 15% to 10%. In many places in many cities they were more in majority also. But now in Pakistan, almost I think 1% Hindus are there, and every day their girls are raped and then converted. Every day temples are being destroyed. Even yesterday, a day before yesterday, on the birth of Krishna, which is called Janmashtami, they destroyed a temple. And they think this is great bravery. This is the greatest cowardice possible. When someone has no number at all and you destroy their temples, that means you are the most cowardly people possible. And I have realized these Muslims are cowardly. They are not brave people. Because they never work as an individual. They are always in crowd. They will always gang up and then do something. And no sane people can be so violent. There is always sword in their hand. Always they come prepared and then they attack. If you are a sane person, if you have even little bit of consciousness, you cannot indulge in these things. That's why Hindus are always beaten, because it is all senseless, this violence. But this purpose has been given to them by their Quran. That you have to convert everyone. All these kafirs have no right to exist. And it looks that this Gandhi was a complete agent of these Muslims. He allowed these Muslims to be here, knowing perfectly well that they will go on increasing their population. And then they will go on creating problems in India. The problem will go on increasing. As it is increasing and everywhere in the world, everywhere they are increasing their population, because they know only 2-3 things. One is violence, one is sex, raping women and murdering people. That is their whole job. And when they are fed up of this, then they become human bomb, so that they want something better in Jannat. If you analyze Mahatma Gandhi's whole work, you will feel that this man was a sick person, completely sick person. One movement he supported, it was I think around 1921 or something, that is called Khilafat movement. Because in Turkey, there used to be Khalifas. They are the leaders of Muslim. Khalifa is the topmost priest of the Muslim. So, when Kamal Pasha became its head of the government, then he said that all those mullahs, all those people who want to thrive on this business of the religion, they should either leave this country or stop all those nonsense. From now onward, there will be no Khalifa in Turkey. But I think Britishers were supporting this Khalifa movement, or maybe I don't remember exactly whether they were supporting or not. But Gandhi saw as an opportunity. He started supporting this because in other countries, in Arab and other countries, they were trying to revive that Khalifa practice, that there should be a leader of the whole Muslim world. One person on the top, that will be called Khalifa. So in Arab world, they were trying to revive, and Mahatma Gandhi saw it as an opportunity. In India also, there were some people, Ali brothers, and these people were for it. So with them, he started supporting this Khalifa movement. It has nothing to do with India. Why you are protesting here for this Khalifa movement? It was their thing in Turkey, but why you are doing this in India? He said that if I support this Khalifa movement, then these Muslims will support me in the freedom movement of India. This is too juvenile, too naive. What you gave to these Muslims, you gave them the idea that they can always protest about things which has nothing to do with India in India. Like anything will happen anywhere. Someone had made a cartoon in France or anywhere, then the Muslims will protest in India. What has India to do with it? They will be writing, they will be burning things in India. This is totally ridiculous. But Gandhi gave this idea. Because Muslim believes in the Ummah, they don't believe in the concept of nations. Ummah means that wherever the Muslims are, they are like one country. They can be in some other planet, but he will be more interested in Muslim living in some other planet, suppose in Mars. But he is not interested in his own country here. His cause is united with Muslim living anywhere. And these countries, they have to be conquered. Only when it is converted into Islam, then it becomes your country. As long as it is not converted, then you have no loyalty with this country. So they will be living anywhere, whether they are in Europe or America or England, they have no loyalty. They have no love for that country till it becomes Islamic. And for this Khilafat movement, in South India, there is a place called Moplan. The Muslim wanted, they said that this place we will turn into place for Khalifa. So they started killing all Hindus, raping Hindu women in thousands. And when the woman asked Mahatma Gandhi that they are raping us, what we should do, he said that you just accept it. You just throttle your own neck till you are dead. Don't protest. If you are Hindus, then don't protest. And I think this man has turned Hindus into impotency. He disarmed Hindus. Hindus are not, if you see all their gods and goddesses, they all have weapons. Hindus don't believe in the idea of this kind of idea of non-violence which Mahatma Gandhi believed in. This is cowardice. This is not non-violence. And non-violence can happen inside you if you have come to know yourself. It cannot be forced on anyone from outside. So I think this was his method. He was working for these Muslims so that all the Hindus become impotent. They become weak and cowardly, so that once the Muslims start attacking them, killing them, they will just surrender. And then this whole country can be converted into Islam. And you can see it in everything. This man was he was a prejudiced man. He was not a neutral man. When this voting was happening for who will be the Prime Minister of India, out of 15 votes, 12 votes went to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And Nehru didn't get any vote in state assemblies. Not a single vote went to him. Out of 15, 12 went to Sardar Patel. But at the central committee, he forced them that you vote for Nehru. And why? Because Nehru went to him one day before. He said that if I am not made into Prime Minister, then I will dissolve this Congress party. I will destroy it. And he said that you have to support me. And then about partition also, it was decided in this Congress party's voting that we will not agree for partition. But then Nehru went to his place, Mahatma Gandhi's place, and he said that you have to help me. Otherwise, if they don't agree for partition, then he was very afraid that who will become the Prime Minister. Whether it will be me or whether it will be Jinnah, who became the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So he said that you have to force this Congress Assembly that they vote for partition. So next day he was to go into this Congress Assembly. And his son said, why you are going? You are not even member of that Congress Assembly. Why you are going? Then Gandhi said that if I don't go, then the heart of the Nehru will be broken. And I cannot accept it. You can destroy the whole country. You can break the whole country. But you cannot break the heart of Nehru. And before also Sardar Patel had become, twice he became the president. He was elected as the president of the Congress party. But Gandhi said that you withdraw. You give the opportunity to Nehru. He will become the president. So he was against the internal democracy in the Congress party. Since then there is no internal democracy. It has become party of the family. It was Gandhi, it was this man who destroyed this internal democracy in Congress. And when Subhash Chandra Bose won this, was to fight for the president of the Congress, then also Gandhi supported someone, Pattabi Raman. He said that if he loses this election, it will be my loss. But still Subhash Chandra Bose won. Then Gandhi forced him that you resign. And then Subhash Chandra Bose has to resign. So what kind of Mahatma this man was? He was a crook. He was not a Mahatma, he was a monster. Because of him, Hindus have lived worse life than animals. Not only Hindus, all those minority who are living in Pakistan, Bangladesh, they have a worse life than animals. And the one man who is responsible is Gandhi. And the other man is Nehru. So these people, they have been thrust upon them. They are not great people. Greatness has been thrust upon them. You understood?
Yes, Swami.
Muslims are afraid or they make others afraid. Muslims have increased their population in India so much and they are afraid and fearful. What happened to minorities in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan? They are not seen anywhere in these countries, or when they are seen, they are raped or butchered. The greatest villains of modern India is Gandhi and Nehru, and you are still painting them as heroes. It is because of their lack of vision and their own ambitions of being a Mahatma or ruling the country. They have destroyed the country. And whatever happened later in India is because of their vested interest and narrow-mindedness. Muslim can't coexist with anyone anywhere in the world, because to coexist with others will be going against Quran and Muhammad. In which country Muslims are living peacefully and are not mixing religion with politics? Very spatially blind and sold out people are needed to say that Muslims and Hindus were having very cordial and loving relationship, ever in India. Those who came to India did not come here to mix with people, but to plunder and butcher.